right, and we're back.
Yes. It's that time.
Start over.
again.
Sorry, I
It's
forgot
that
you had an
time.
intro. I forgot. Sorry. God, kill me.
We're not back. We fucking haven't even started yet.
Okay. All right, sorry.
All right.
I can't talk during your intro, right? I have to wait till your
Yes.
intro's done?
Yes, you have to wait till
Wait
I
until
turn
it's
the music
completely
off.
off.
Okay.
That's how a show intro works, Shell.
Okay. I thought I could talk during it, but okay, got
In
it.
3, 2, 1. Ah, yes. It's that time again. It's that time. Distorted Reality Podcast, where Distorted Nation Radio meets Reality Check TV with your hosts, C-Core from Distorted Nation Radio and Shellrzzr from Reality Check TV. Producer commentaries, Kevlar coated. It's time to distort your reality.
All right, and here we are, podcast number 4. C-Core, we did it.
5,
No.
if you count 0.
I'm not counting 0.
Okay,
We're
5.
not
4.
4. This is number 4.
Number 4.
Because the 0 was really, it was still Shell talks with Shell.
It,
then-
it was
and then it
just
became
whatever.
us. Yeah, it was just
it's-
whatever.
It's the first thing to, bust the cherry right there.
Yeah.
It was the birth.
It was the birth. So this is Distorted Reality Podcast. Technically we've had 5 episodes, but we're going to just call this number 4, and we're excited to jump into it. The last few times we met, we've been with bands, and we had our shenanigans and fun, and we're going to kind of just change the page today and just,
Shenanigans.
yeah, that's just a word I like to, I don't know how to spell it. I
Yeah,
like
this
to
is
use
where
big
we
words.
turn the lights down and get real serious.
Yeah, this is going to be a podcast to say right now. Just go ahead and turn it off if you don't want to talk about anything besides like puppies and unicorns. Right? Just like change the
Why
channel.
can't we have puppies and unicorns? Huh?
Well,
What do you have against the puppy?
okay. Listen, that could
Yeah, that-
actually be
that-
part of
what-
your coping skills. So that could be a good.
Or
thing.
what if people identify as a unicorn and you don't want those people to listen now because there's no unicorns allowed in the room? That's so wrong.
That's right. We're gonna just cancel me right now, right? Just
No,
done.
no, blank cancel culture. Real quick, before we go any further, I do got to say big shout out to bartender Kevlar. This margarita is amazing.
Ah, thank you. That's a strawberry lime margarita.
I just took a sip. It was really strong.
Got an extra shot.
Thank you. So, I put some little notes on the board, but the thing is I want to talk about our, I called it a mental journey, but really with they used to have like mental awareness day, and then it was
They have a month, yeah.
They have a month now, but I feel like that's not enough. Well, we just got to hold on for that 1 month. And what month is it? Do we know? Is it May?
Something like that. I can't remember right now.
Do we have a color? Because every awareness has a color, but I don't know what.
I think it's like purple.
Purple? Okay. That would work if it was purple. So the reason why I wanted to talk about the mental awareness and
Nope,
mental
I lied.
journey-
It's green.
It's green?
It's a green ribbon, and it is May. Yep, it is the month of May.
Okay, so they're sharing it with breast cancer awareness, and so we got mental health, and that makes sense, They used to think that, mental health was, just the women, the women get depressed, and so it put a big stigma on men.
Everybody gets depressed.
But back in the day, it was like certain people could be depressed, and it would be, oh, well, she's sad, she's weak. But I think it was harder for men because to say, hey, I'm having a hard time, right?
Oh yeah, suck it up, walk it off, be a man.
Walk it off, right? That's my father.
Go out and pour some concrete, boy. It'll toughen you up.
My father used to say, I would call him randomly throughout my life, and that's a whole nother segment. But he'd say, keep your chin up. And it would make you call for any topic, and it'd be like, keep your chin up. That was his go-to,
Am I drowning in the river? Like, of course I'm going to keep my chin up.
That's true. That might work. So, I don't know how you want to jump into it besides just like telling something. So I put some notes because I went through some things when I was younger where I was I was around some children that had to be in the system. They weren't my children, but they were children that were close to me, and they being abused in the system. And so one of the titles I wrote, "Where Did the Bad Man Touch You?" Because they used to have the anatomically correct dolls back when I was growing up, and you couldn't really express things. You would point to a picture, or because they didn't allow you to say things back then. Do you remember that?
Well.
I mean, like hearing about that.
Yes, I know. I know the whole thing. And where did the evil man touch you? Show us on the dolly.
Yeah, and I think we kind of went through those kind of things, and that's got me more aware. Because when I was growing up, and I think developing, I have a mental illness. Okay, so we're just going to throw it out there.
How about we dive into that real quick and do a little branch to explain
why
you mentioning that you have a mental illness.
Yeah.
Why don't you elaborate on what?
Okay, I will. So when I was growing up, they used to call when I had depression. I would say I'm a product of trauma. I'm a survivor of that. When I was born, my parents, the first trauma I had is they divorced when I was 9 months old. And then with stories in your life, it's usually a repeated pattern. And I was told over and over, well, Michelle, your dad only wanted 2 kids. It took me 5 years to have you. And then she would just end the story. And I'm not blaming my mom at all. I'm going to talk about my mom a lot through this, and she's a survivor and she's a great woman. However, I'm still a product of her story. And so she emphasized over the years that, but your parents divorced when they were 9 months old. So if you're told your whole life, dad only wanted 2 kids, and then when you were born, basically I caused a divorce, right? So I know that I didn't as an adult, but as a child, my dad didn't take me to see me till I was 3 years old because, diapers. And so it was like, I was kind of like born into like abandonment issues and rejection. That was kind of like a core foundation for me. I knew that at a young age. And so I started just disappearing in my own little world very young. To skip forward many years, I remember being like 12 or 13 years old and actively knowing that I had forgotten my childhood. I would tell people, have no memory, like a blackout alcoholic or something, and I had not done drugs at that point. I'm completely virgin. The people, oh, you too many drugs. Later on, too many maybe helps me with my forgetting, but also I do it as a coping skill. So back to the story. So I just continued to survive. My mother survived her life. She was married 5 times, twice to the same man. I moved 17 times by the time I was 18. A few of them were because I ran away, but most of them were just growing up and just kind of, my mom would say, it's time to go, And we always lived in a good neighborhood. I'm not like we were caravanning and like, homeless or anything. She was always trying to find another environment to make her feel different. And that is another coping skill I learned. I learned how to escape within the reality. Whenever it gets tough, then I have to create another reality. So when they labeled me manic depressed, and then later on in life, they called me bipolar. And so anybody can take a test and be bipolar, I think, in that moment, but as we progress.
Especially women.
Right. And so I think there was levels, but the type of label that I was finally diagnosed with and certified was a personality disorder. And that really developed through the years of me trying to figure out who I was. And, I had a lot of, my first sexual experience was a rape. We'll just throw right in there. And that helped develop.
Well, that got there real quick.
Yeah. And so you're like, you're just kind of like going through the phases, and then you're like, okay, that's what love is. Right. And then I proceeded to always be ashamed. It's like I was always like this person that kept secrets. No one knew about that, of course, right? I was a definite after school special, if you remember those back in the day, where I got pregnant in high school, and it was with the boy that, I didn't even really like him. We just were together. We bumped around. And then I got pregnant, and my mom says, break up with him. It was the only time I ever obeyed her. And I said, okay. But what happened was everyone at school knew, and my name on the locker was Mom. And then I had a miscarriage. Maybe it was all the drugs. I don't know. And I'll just admit that. As soon as I broke up with him, it was just like, we didn't think about, you do acid and all that. So, oh, you're pregnant. We never thought like, oh, this was harming anything. I was just living my little world.
Well, back then, yeah.
Yeah. You didn't know. And so I probably caused that. But regardless, I just kind of morphed into the other world. And so when everyone found out that I was pregnant, I dropped out of school. And then I found out, then I didn't have the baby, and then it's like, okay, What do you do? Here's another rejection. My mom at that time, prior to this, she wanted to be a grandma very young. I'm not saying that we all went out to do that, but that was another layer. And so my sister got pregnant at the same time. So that was a big trauma during that time. And I dealt with this all in counseling.
And how old is your sister?
My sister's 7 years older than me, so I was 14. She's 21.
Okay.
And so at that time, she had my niece, Jessica. And just, I love you, and I hope that you hear this podcast someday. And you've heard this story, so this is nothing new. And so in my family, you just go on to the next. When people, just to give you some background, when there was a divorce in our family, nobody took the photos down. We just took the face off the person, okay, and replaced it with a new boyfriend or husband. So,
like a creepy serial killer, like you just cut out the face of the picture,
true
like
story.
the creepy stalker, and then you put the new photo in there.
And I think it only was with my family because my mom was divorced a few times. So grandma, I don't know if she was a hater or she didn't want to change the photos, but that's what happened. So my mom, knitted all the blankets. I told everyone her teenage daughter is going to have a baby. And then I didn't. And then everything was given to Kathy and we never spoke of it again. So everything was, and then Jessica, and was fine. And I moved on with my life. But what that did was it just took me out of the regular cycle. I never went to regular high school. I dropped out. I always worked, went back to school. The next trauma I had, and then I'll just kind of dive into some other topics where I got diagnosed with this, was I met somebody else that took me on a journey. And this was like the first time I dealt with abuse. Okay. Like as far as, not that the rape was an abuse, but like physical and more mental. The rape was a one-time occurrence with this person that I knew. And then I didn't deal with them ever again. And they were older. So with the abusive one, it was like, I went through these series where I did a lot of different things. I ran away from home when I was 18 years old. I was going to move to Los Angeles, and I changed the address, and then I decided I don't want to do that, and so I just went off with this dude, and we just did a lot of drugs, and he broke into my family's house, and I allowed him to steal all my stepfather's. All his shit, like everything, like all his jewelry, all his booze, all his pennies. It was just like crazy. And I don't know why that happened, but I went on the run for him for about 3 months. And that right there, I came back into the world when now I'm 18 years old, and it just started me on this journey of on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And, so Corey, there's a lot of different stories within this, but that was the first time I was diagnosed. Well, she just depressed, and so that's when the medication started. They medicated me for years, and I did that spiral. I was always, whenever I accomplished anything, they'd say, "You know what, you're doing good for Michelle," and it was never good for me. It was always good for the situation, and I learned how to always just be a good girl for that moment.
Like you were on your own separate platform that is like, well, with how bad she is, this is good for her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they still do that to this day, my family. And we'll talk about changing relationships in a whole different segment. So to not make it too long, because this story is long, and just to kind of keep it into perspective, I did about 10 years of medication. And in between that, I had a relationship prior to that with another abusive person that I lived in his backyard for about a year and a half. Like I rented a trailer, and he was like 14 years older, and it was just crazy. And that was another person that my mom allowed me to go off with.
You rented like an actual trailer to park on his property, or there was already a trailer there and you were renting like that?
He made me sleep in the backyard in the trailer, and then he stayed in the house, and then he would, and so, yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's just...
It's fucked up.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that was another thing, like, okay, I can do this. And so I went from that person to where and I'm not going to talk bad about my ex-husband, my children's father, but I went from that world to...
Is it okay if you go through and you went through these things, if you say some stories about him, and I'd be like, well, what a dickhole.
Oh,
can I comment stuff?
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
okay?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
No. I'll tell stories about my ex in a different way, but yeah, he's a good guy. But yeah, we went through some hell, right? We put
Like
each other.
any one of these guys that you went through in the past, I might
Yeah.
have a few commentary items to add.
So then I'm just like, okay, I'm still innocent, but and I'm a product of the 80s, and I back in the 80s.
So am I.
Yeah, and
According to my mom, I was actually a product of pink champagne.
Oh, really? What was that? I don't know.
She was kind of a floozy.
Mine was probably my dad's. Let's see, I was born in January. My dad's Capricorn as well, and they only had sex on their anniversary and birthday. And so, yeah, so it was a product of one of those things. So, once I went to the next person, I'm like, okay, I'll just take whatever cheese sandwich you're going to give me, whatever shit sandwich you're going to give me. And I just continued on.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's a strong drink, It's like a lot. It's a lot going on here.
There was a chunk of ice that went down when I thought it was just liquid.
So one of the things that, as far as the medication and the doctors and the appointments, what I really want you guys to get out of this, because I don't want to bore you. Like I probably already changed the channel with this. I listened to the professionals. They were always telling me how to act, how to be. My mother was always like, here, just take this pill. She didn't want to deal with any emotional banter because she couldn't handle it herself. And by the way, my mom has like 35 years sobriety. All the crazy stuff that happened in my youth was under the influence of alcohol and depression. Two of the things that I will say that, as far as some of the trauma that I didn't say, is that my mom, because she was manic depressed, she attempted suicide twice in front of me and our family, and she was the full dramatic, pills, alcohol, passed out, ambulance comes, the gurney, the whole deal. And that was a lot. It was when I was in 4th grade the first time.
Like she literally took everything in front of you and was just like...
No.
She just did it and you guys came home and saw her.
My mom was the type of alcoholic that would take one drink and she would put... so this might explain my personality with all my selfies and photos and all the things I do. She would get herself really pretty, and she was a very modest woman, nothing like I am. And because I'm more of like an exhibitionist. But she would... get very pretty, take pills, alcohol, and then make phone calls. And then she would call us in, and we'd visit my mother very dramatically around the bed, or she would talk to her. She would parent us through the door, or we could just talk to her through the door. And I just raised myself. We were latchkey kids, walked yourself in 1st grade. And so you just kind of learned how to trust the policeman, and not trust the policeman. I'd never had any problems that way, but, well, later on I did. But that's a whole nother story. But so it taught me to just be quiet, take the pill, and doesn't matter how it made me feel. Through this time, I had 3 children. I got married. I tried to do the white picket fence. I was a good girl. I was married to a biker, so he wasn't the type that he was like patched in. It was just a way of life, and he was gone a lot. So I just was alone. And
road trips.
Yeah, road trips. He'd be gone a lot. I didn't know that he was definitely, into the...
smuggling guns for Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah, exactly. Orangeville thugs. No, I don't know who they were back then, but... So I survived all that stuff, but the voices kept telling me, Michelle, there's a different life, and the coping skills that I had during that time, Corey, was really hard because I was pregnant for 3 children in 5 years. And I dropped out of high school, so I'm uneducated. So the core things were you'll never make it. You're not educated. You weren't. I wasn't a virgin. And I just there was all these like things that you're not going to make it in a career. You're not smart, and I believed it all. And so I just kind of was quiet. But my kids were raising chaos because it was me doing what I knew how to do, but I didn't have any guidance, and nobody was around. My mother, I'd visit my mom 3 times a year during that time, and she lived Fairfield. No, I lived Fairfield. She lived Cordelia, so Solano County. So back then, you raised your own children. You didn't get all these. The kids today, they're like everyone's just raising their kids, and you don't have to do anything. I can't relate to that. I did everything.
I don't believe parents are really raising their kids these days.
No,
I'm just saying.
No, and so. Unfortunately, my little boys, they grew up with a mommy that was, because I didn't know how to, and I talk in third party about myself. That's one of the different personalities. So I call myself, just throw it out here. So I'm Shell, of course I'm Shellrzzr, because that was just ordained to me, and I love that. Thank you, Stevie. But I go by Michelle Lee, Shelly, Shell, Crystal, Molly. And that was before I even knew.
Where the other names come into play? That's what I want to know.
And how come they're all named after drugs?
Or strippers.
I don't know. Okay, so We're not going to talk about crystal during this episode. That's a whole nother thing, and that's probably when we have some sex education.
That's the hard-hitting stuff right there.
Yeah, that's the hard-hitting stuff. But Molly's the girl that's fun, and that's where I put on here, label me Molly. And I wrote a little note that says, why did I put...
She's reading the teleprompter, folks.
Yeah, why did I put me in a box? Okay, and what I mean by that is that I told myself, I created this self-prison my whole life. And I had this visual. I went to a spiritual retreat many years ago, and they said, just get quiet, one with yourself. And my vision was this. It was like this escalator coming down, and there's the bars, and the bars would open, but I would never leave the jail. And they're like, you're free. You can leave. There's an escalator. There's help. And there was a hand to pull me out, and I was like, I can't go. And it didn't dawn on me for years that I was the one, doing the self-prison stuff. And that was the medication. And I just finally one day I said, you know what? I think I can do this on my own. And I just literally stopped, and I didn't take another pill. And I was in the program, for years, the Department of Alcoholics Anonymous. Something's happening with the camera. I don't know if that matters or not, but, and so I learned a lot of coping skills with that during that time. And I think we can get into some kind of skills. I jumped around my story because as you follow our podcast, you're going to hear different parts of my stories. I have 3 sons, and the little girl the person that I talked about in the beginning of it, if you want to rewind back, was a stepdaughter of mine. Her name was Allison. And she's the one that had the little dolly thing. Okay, and that's a whole nother story. But
it was
all
I don't
wrong.
even know what you're talking about.
The anatomically correct dolls and touch me because
I was going to bring that back around and ask you if you want to get back into, the whole, you set it up with talking about the touching on the dolly.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Well, I mean, if you want to tell that story later, I was just saying that's where you left off to tell the tangent on explaining your, mental health issues that you...
Right, that's true.
The definition of your issues, so that way people will actually understand what you're talking about when you say you have these issues. So,
I think there was a time in my life where when I was afraid, I created these other types, and I'm not schizophrenic. That's where people think like, oh, you mean you like black out and morph into this person? No, I just feel like there was personalities in me that kind of took over. When I look at the different times of my life, I realized that, oh, wow, how did I even get through that? I've accomplished a lot of different things. At one point during all this craziness and being poor, and I was married, I was able to like go to medical assistant school and raise my kids, and all in like a short period of time. While this is where the mania comes in. When you're bipolar or personality disorder, you have great. You should see what's going around in the background. It's crazy.
Tentacle cable monster is attacking producer Kevlar.
Right.
If I get up and leave the table, it's because I'm going to go rescue him.
Right. Well, because there's a picture of kind of
behind him that's like leaning on him right now.
Well, I feel like this whole like episode in the background is kind of bipolar and manic. But one of the things that people that are of my mind type is that we like it when we're manic. We don't want it so manic that we're out of control, but we live for those moments because that's where you get those energy bursts. And I feel like in my life, I've had to have different points. Should we just like take a quick break and come on back?
No, he's cool. All right, let him walk by.
All right, we're good.
We're good.
Okay.
We're good. So
we got a lot going on. So I think that the people that have that, we look forward to that. But the problem is that within the mania, some really intense things happen. So I can jump to the last thing that happened to me where the break in the chain was. This is 2006. Okay, so this is the time frame of this story. And the voices in my head for years, I was working for Kaiser at the time. I was in a really good position, had a great 4-bedroom house in Vacaville. Everything seemed to be going good in my life. My youngest had just turned 12 years old.
You've excelled further than what everyone's thought you would ever do.
Big time. I had bought my second home. We had bought a house in Sacramento, made some money, bought our dream house we thought was in Vacaville, and we were doing good. And that's usually, and this is in June. This is a June time frame because Jesse's birthday is June 27th. And the pattern in my life is every 7 to 10 years I have some little weird thing happen, and also in this June. And I look back in my life at the different traumas, and it was always around that time. So I make sure that I'm around good, healthy people at certain times where there's dates and triggers, because sometimes I'll go through a June
You
and it's
kind
fine.
of fear it, like you're just like sitting there waiting for something, and then
The
like,
shoe's gonna drop.
Is it going to be tomorrow? It's going to be in an hour. It's going to be next week.
And so what happened with the day is we had a birthday party for Jesse, and then the week later I saw my father-in-law, and I think he triggered me. He says, "So," and he knew I survived so much, and he goes, "Life worked out, huh?" And I'm all, "Yeah." And the next day I woke up in the morning, I said, "Today's the day I leave," and I literally packed my bag and left my family and never came back. And I was just like, what the hell? And so when I did that, and they're like, what happened? I went to a friend's house, and I just couldn't come back. He came over one time and said, "I'll be a better man. Will you come back?" And I'm like, "I can't." And I just, and that haunted me. And after that, and I was in a huge bipolar mania event right then, and I did not know. I was in so much chaos to be able to do what I did with my little boys. How could you do that? I mean, Dylan was a junior in high school. He was a varsity basketball. There were so many critical things going on in his life. William is at that time, he has a brain injury, and he's 29 and he's doing great now. But he really needed me, and Jesse, so innocent, so little, and no one stopped it. For years I said, someday I'm going to get on a bus, because I wanted attention. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get on a bus, and I'm going to probably go to Utah. I don't know why Utah, maybe because some of my family is Mormon.
Wanted to be Mormon.
Right. And I went to Mormon Bible camps. That's a whole nother story when we talk about summer camps. I want to do an episode on summer camps and different things sometimes, so that'll be fun. And but no one did that. And I said, when I did all my warning things, and I'm hooked up with this is when the online was just starting, AOL and all the different... Dial-up, yeah. And I got my first computer, and I went online, and I started talking to somebody.
AOL Instant Messenger?
Yes. And I was in a chat room.
Yahoo Messenger?
And there was some other websites, which I won't name here because I don't want you to try to find me, okay? I'm on the grid still, so we're not going to mention the places. But... I met this person, and I'm in this chat with them. And mind you, remember how all of the different traumas in my life I talked about? I'm very passive. I'll take anyone's shit sandwich. I want to help you and make you better. So this person I started spending money on, okay? And
you became his sugar mama.
Right. And in the chat, I never heard that term. He was like talking about his sugar mama, and I was reading it, and I didn't know he was talking about me. And I'm just like, wow. And so... long story short, I hook up with this person, I already left my husband, and so now, oh, by the way, 2 weeks after I left him, I'm just going to throw it out there, okay? It's the truth. He just moved in somebody else, he just, brought, and we knew her for I went to 2 of her weddings, okay? So there's history, okay? And so it was easy. It's like the guy that's you can hook up with your ex, You didn't have to try real hard, right? So he went, but she had a job and had lots of stuff going on. Not me. I got to find the biggest loser possible, right? This guy online. And long story short, I had this other cottage. I still owned my home. I left being a Kaiser person to go work somewhere else. I'm not going to say the company, okay? I may be later, but I don't think I should. As a result... yeah, I shouldn't say it, huh? Engineer? No. Yeah, too much. Oh, too much banging? Sorry. So I went to another company, and I'm doing this little thing, and he ends up getting arrested in one of my cars, okay? And so that was red flag number one.
Arrested for what?
He has priors, I guess,
and
then
okay.
He got pulled over in my car, and he had warrants and stuff, and they put him in jail, right? So that was my first red flag. Well, I didn't know that he was being surveyed, and I had a little cottage, and I was in the. I'm just going to throw it out there. Should I say it?
You were promiscuous. What?
No,
You were dealing drugs?
Okay, I copped a case, okay? I copped a case. I was involved in a drug raid. Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there, and it's like...
But you weren't the Colombian drug lord they were looking for.
No, I was not. I was in the house. The house was in my name, and so whatever happened.
Other people were renting or staying in the house, and
Yes.
they were the ones that were involved
Yes.
with the illegal activity.
Yes.
But because our justice system is so intelligent and awesome and fair that the innocent people, just because the house was in your name,
Yeah.
you get punished too, or have like all this shade thrown at you, using a young term right there.
Yeah.
And you get wrapped up in all that stuff, even though you had nothing to do with the illegality of what was going on.
Yeah. So I got charged with all this, but what happened was, remember, I'm a good girl. I'm going through a divorce. I'm trying to hold my crap together. I have my own job. And as a result of this arrest, I got charged with all these things. They all got dropped, but it took 3 years. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's
okay. And
gotta love
3 years,
justice
about
system.
$40,000. I signed over my home because at that time, remember, I'm not well. And by the way, when this happened, I didn't tell anyone in my family because I was ashamed.
You were going through this all alone.
All alone, no advice. And so, of course, my husband.
No
at
phone
the
a friend,
time,
nothing.
Nothing. He said, "You know what? Are you going to do this?" And so when I got arrested, I had to get I got bailed out. Right? I had called a friend.
Okay,
And
so you did have one friend.
I had one friend, and they put it on a credit card, and they bailed me out. But I had to pay it back. Right?
Well, hopefully you were a good friend and paid it back.
And so I did. But I signed my house over to my ex, and I took nothing. And I didn't tell my mom and or anybody in my life to help. I lost my job as a result of the arrest. And it hit the newspaper. My children are ashamed. I lived across the street from the high school, too. So it was like really dramatic. And when my name was in the newspaper, that's where the shame came in for my neighbors. When I got out, I only spent like 6 hours in jail and got bailed out. I never went upstairs. I stayed in the holding cells.
You were just in the drunk tank.
Yeah. Well, they put me in a separate one. They kept me, in a separate area. So I went back to my other house because I was going to move back in it. And while this arrest happened, I was not living there anymore. I just let him stay there. Mm-hmm. And so there was none of my stuff in there, but a couple things like my son's antihistamine, and so they thought I was making dope. I'm like, and they charged me. One of my charges was like when you steal someone's scripts, you know. And I'm like, okay, so my 10-year-old has allergies, and so whatever. And so that's why a lot of this stuff was dropped. But as a result, what that did was I lost my home, the humility, my pride. My children were ashamed, and then I just moved away. I literally moved to Sonoma for a couple months, and I just fully went into the world, and I lost it. And I was able to get out of it, and I was able to, what I did was I signed up for this program, and I went to this treatment program for women who come out of prison and they had children. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's the only thing my insurance could cover. I was looking for like a Serenity program, and they sent me to, it was crazy. They sent me into the mountains, and I slept in bunk beds with these like young 20s. And at this point I was 30. I woke up my 37th birthday, so I actually had a birthday there, Christmas, birthday, and Valentine's Day. I spent 2 months in this place, and I learned so much about. At this point, I had a sexual addiction. Okay, so that's what got me into this. So when I broke the chain, I went from being really innocent, and then this person went to jail. That person went to jail, and he stayed in jail for a year, and. I wanted to get him back in my crazy. And so in my crazy, I thought it would be a good idea to like find all these people that he had dated and stuff and like, befriend them. That's why I moved to Santa Rosa. So I took another
Does
identity.
anyone else at home have the little map and are putting pins across California where she lived?
Either that or voodoo dolls or something.
Okay. And so in the midst of this with the clicking and stuff like that, I met my first stalker. You know what? I go big. I
met my first stalker.
Yes. And so this is all like, now mind you, I'm still in
I only
my
have one
personality.
stalker story. We'll talk about it some other time.
I have my personality disorder is full blown at this point. I'm 37 years old, and I'm like, what am I going to do? My ex is now raising my sons, and I'm this loser that's like a felon now. This is before they dropped all the charges, and I'm still considered a felon. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to do this. When I got out of the treatment, before the treatment, I was talking to this person, the stalker, online, and Who goes and flies out and meets their stalker? I do. And so I went to New Jersey.
Okay, maybe I'll just like a little short blurb.
Okay, yeah, give me a break.
Well, my stalker story, when I discovered that she was a stalker, I turned her into I turned it around and made her my personal assistant. Okay, because she already knew where I was going to be before I couldn't even remember where I had to be, and say, hey, you going to be at this event and all this stuff, and I was like, you know what? If you know so much about me and where I'm going to be and all these things, because you're following my Facebook or just Facebook, maybe. Yeah, I don't think MySpace was good. I think that was gone already. That I was just like, why don't you be my personal assistant and help out? And that was great, all up until you do the one thing you shouldn't do with a personal assistant / stalker.
Get jiggy with it with the sheets.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I let it cross that line, and then after that, that's when things got cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, when you give them a little bit, and that's what I did with this person. It's interesting. He took my identity too and took it to a whole nother level. I don't even think we have enough time to discuss him. But as a result of him, I met.
We'll come
Kevin.
back into that.
We'll come back into
I'm making
another
notations.
Time. Okay, and so. When this all went down, it was like, what am I going to do with my life? I left my career at Kaiser. I got fired from this other job that was going to be my new career. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so I just decided that I was just going to just be free. And I'm still online. I was very, very addicted to being online. I made a whole bunch of documentaries, we'll just say, self-documentaries during that time. And I started playing with the computer and trying to document because I kept forgetting. And I had a lot of shame during that time because of my children and my family, too. I was raised where my mother, even though she struggled with alcoholism, she always tried to put us in the best environments possible. And, instead of maybe having a more affordable home and maybe have a little bit more time to spend with your family, she had to work super hard to afford all these other things that we probably didn't need to have. And I kind of went the opposite of that. I typically don't live above my means. I was survivor type of thing. So what brought me to where I'm at in the last 15 years and this journey of self acceptance is after I got out of that treatment. Of course, we had the stalker move to California. Okay, so I have to end with him.
Wait, so you flew out to meet him, and then he flew back here to be with you?
Yeah, okay. I flew out to meet him 3 times, and then he came out here a couple times. And while I was in treatment, my mom.
So it's not that weird to fly out of your state to fly to another state to meet somebody,
especially New Jersey.
Yeah, and he lived in a really creepy house too. He didn't even.
What about Indiana? Is that an okay place to go?
Better than New Jersey.
Yeah, better than New Jersey. But but it was just but the thing is that I'd never gone anywhere by myself. I got on a plane by myself, and it was really scary. And the people that I had friends with at that time, I didn't have people in real life, only on the grid.
Yeah, but planes back then were a lot cooler.
They were cooler. And it was kind of exciting. I went to New York. I went to New York by myself while I was on that trip. I took a train, and the stalker guy didn't want to do anything. I literally went across to New Jersey to be rejected by this guy, and then I kept going back for it, and I don't know why, but he was. He gave me attention, and he took photos of me, and he was going to do these things for me and tell my story. I was searching for somebody to tell my story. I ended up marrying someone.
You were looking for the attention to be heard. You
Yeah.
you were looking for that longing to be heard and tell your story, and hopefully at least have some type of compassion towards you, and maybe at least a hug, or you poor thing, or somebody to show you some emotion back for everything you've been through.
Instead of taking advantage at this time, I'm in the peak sexual times of my life. I was very shut down when I was married, and because I was angry a lot and sad, and so I literally bursted out into this sexual revolution.
Well, like we've talked about before, and there's 6 things in life that you need, and you express 2 of them right then and there highly in your life. You need to be heard, and we all love to have sex. Right,
we do. And so I explored that, and but the thing that he taught me that my my husband, my current husband, my soulmate, benefited from is that he taught me how to mentally time travel. And we will have another podcast about
Yeah,
how
because I
sensitive.
want to know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Time
if you
travel.
want to, I could, you could.
No, we're going to do that
we
another
won't get
time.
into that. We don't have time for that. Yeah.
No, we have time. We're going to try keeping on your main
Okay, so-
topic of
so-
opening up this mental health issue.
Okay, so what happened with
everything.
this guy here is that once I was in the treatment, my mom sells him a condo, and I just needed somewhere to live when I got out. So when I got out, I have a condo that he bought me, and he's not there because he's still in New Jersey. But so I got to live in this condo by myself for like 4 weeks. It was so cool. And then he showed up one day, and because I guess I'm going to be with him. I didn't want to be with him anymore. I really had only met him in person a few times, and everything was mental. Just talking online and seeing photos of each other, and so. I left him. I got an apartment down the street, and I got into
he came here to California.
Yes,
and
he
then
sold
you're like-
everything, quit his job, his retirement, sold his house in New Jersey, and bought a condo.
And then you ghosted him
literally
in
a week.
the realest fashion.
In like a week. And but shame on him. I was in a mental hospital, like when he bought a condo to come be with me. Like, what's wrong with you, dude? Take some responsibility. But I did feel guilty because I was the second girl to do that. His story was he did that. That's how he got to New Jersey, because he's from Ohio, and he met a girl that took him to New Jersey.
Ohio is for lovers.
And so that's like it's almost like his destiny to screw up. So like he found somebody sicker than the girl and moved to California. So, and then I met Kevin. I met Kevlar, and so Kevin, so we're meeting right now. Kevin met me at the peak of
Just for the people that don't know, they're married.
And he went back to Ohio.
Yeah.
Eventually later.
His city was gone.
He couldn't go back to New Jersey. He had to go back to Ohio, that other guy. And so what am I talking about? It's a big jumble thing. So when I finally got to Kevin, I'm like 39 years old. Okay, I'd been gone from my other family for 2 years, and my whole purpose in life was to get my family back. That is why I got with the Ohio guy. And even the loser that I got arrested with, for some reason, when I got with him, I'm like, okay, I left my family. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go mate with this person, and they'll be my family now. And then my kids will have to accept him. And then, because I couldn't do it on my own. There was not one time in my mind did I ever think that, Michelle, you could probably do this on your own. You don't
go back and try to be accepted back into the family,
or just be on my own. I don't need a man, or a woman to, whatever you're into to be okay. You can do it on your own and heal. Self-love, right?
And self-empowerment.
But I don't know.
By being with
I didn't know how
yourself.
to do that, and so I just went from one man to the next. And so good girl most of my life. Married for 17 years, went crazy for about 2 of those, and then I met my current life, and then I said, you know what, I'm just going to settle on in. And that's when I started my journey. So when I was 39 years old, and so we're in 2008, and I said, Michelle, I'm going to put you first. And I took 2 years off of life. I grew my hair out. It's significant for anybody that's not had any control over yourself. And the only thing I can control in my life is my hair. And there's books about the good hair and the bad hair and from different cultures. And in our family, if you had the thick curly hair, you were like something. There was certain statuses in my family, and I had thick hair and curly. I wasn't a blonde, but I had the other two. And to have blonde, thick, curly hair would be ultimate in our family. I don't know why. Isn't that surface? I guess we're German. I don't know. But that's what I was like, okay, I have this. And so I cut all my hair off when I met Kevin, and I grew it back. I colored it black, and I just kind of went into this world where I just blocked everything off. And that's when I just started over. We started into doing media a couple years later, and I morphed into, I was Metal Mom. That's what I first started doing. Once I got off the grid.
That was your first persona?
Yeah, with online
Metal
for
Mom.
Metal Mom. And because I wanted to do all the things that I couldn't do in the 80s. And then when I was a teenager, then I became an adult really quick when I had to marry that guy, and he wasn't into the same music I was. He didn't like Rage. He didn't like heavy metal. It was country or Leonard Skinner. Okay, so I went from total rock and roll to like, you're at home. And so I got to relive all these different things. And I did. I stage dived at 40 years old and 41 and 42. I'm not sure when I met you, Corey, but.
And you didn't break a hip?
No, back then I still had a little bit of flexibility. And, I went to counseling and.
I'm only 36 and I'm afraid to stage dive.
Yeah. Well,
I know I'd break a hip.
No, I was a little smaller back then. People were, grabbing me in. But this whole time with my persona with my family it's like whenever I had a feeling or anything, they're like, oh, you want to take a pill? You got to calm down. I self-medicate with cannabis, and I know that, there's times when you can do too much and not be, but I'm not the type that's not productive. I'm a lazy stoner as far as cleaning my baseboards and organizing my garage and my backyard, but as far as like getting my shit together and doing stuff, I'm fully functional adult that way.
Yeah.
And but I still, at my age now, even the way I am, I'm doing more now, but I'm still like worried about what you think and in my family. And so lately I've been, probably in the last 5 years particularly, but recently in the last 2 years, I'm finally like, you know what, guys, I'm running out of time. And I'm just going to be who I am. And my kids know who I am. And
fuck everyone else. Who cares what they think?
It's like just you're wearing a bandana. I wore bandanas until I was like 24 years old. Now it's back in style, but I wore it to where it wasn't in style anymore.
Well, okay, you had a head start on me, but since high school, I've had a bandana.
But then at some point, we're supposed to take the bandana off, right?
No.
Right, that's why I love Shellrzzr. But in my world, it was like, nope, you can't. And so I would hang out with people that were bandana acceptable, like bikers, right? And then when I wasn't around bikers anymore, me wearing a bandana just looked off. I had to find my bandana people.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Okay, so like, my whole scenester career, like working with bands and being in the Sacramento music scene, like, skinny jeans or blue jeans and a bandana in the back pocket also, and, ripped holes or,
Did you have baggy jeans phase or you were always skinny?
No, when I was younger, but right before I really got into music, I still kind of do, a little bit. Just a little bit.
Okay.
See, but my thing is, okay, I'll explain this why I do it. It's just because the like actual feeling of like the pants on the skin is kind of annoying. So I'd rather have my boxers just like up a little bit, like, a quarter of an inch up higher than my pants, because I don't know, it just feels weird. So like, I don't know, it's just weird.
No.
Well, you're lucky that you missed the parachute pants.
Dude, if you had some, I'd totally wear them. Then I'd jump off the roof and try to like float down.
Like Hammer Time.
We'll get you some.
Like, no, like, I don't know. I've never grown up in that aspect to the point where I feel like I need to change my style. It's been my style. I've always worn, some type of little bracelets and a necklace, and, like, I had my lip ring ever since I was...
So, Corey, I feel like you were able to, and we'll talk, obviously haven't talked about Corey's story, but I have never allowed myself... I was one way. My father died when I was 30 years old, just to kind of speed with my dad. But I only saw my dad a couple times a year, and he'd see me in whatever, like the most properest type of collared shirt or something. And my mom, of course, saw me through I was a flannel moccasin type of girl, so it's the 70s and 80s. And then I had to be like the Bible study type with my last relationship. And then with Kevin, I was able to like be free, and
be set free.
And my family thought that he changed me, and I just was able.
He lets you show you, and be you.
Yeah.
I don't let her do anything.
Oh, she just does what she wants.
She does what she wants, and I accept it.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
So for me, there was a lot of.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was younger in elementary school, I totally, like my mom, we didn't have a whole lot of money. And I went to school up in Oak Ridge.
That's right. You went to the fancy pants school.
I went to Brooks Elementary.
They bust you in.
And then I went to Rolling Hills, all up in Eldoret Hills. And, we didn't have a lot of money, but my mom, did what she could and did the best she could. And I had, like, Walmart type clothes, and all these kids are wearing, like Gucci and Prada and crap, right? Or Adidas and all these name brand stuff. And, I'll even admit it, like to this day, like I still, I wear my Shellrzzr, I wear, my band shirts and stuff. But I have shirts, like don't get me wrong, I wear a lot of stuff that I'm just like, fuck it, I don't care what people think or whatever. But there are some things that, like, I have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shirt. I'll wear it around the house, but I don't wear it out in public. I don't know why. I'm just like, I think we want to talk about trauma. Yeah. I think as a kid, I was traumatized because I had, like, I was always into comic books and cartoons and stuff like that. And I was picked on for liking, cartoons and stuff and comic books as a kid, because back then when I was a kid, it wasn't as cool or popular or mainstream as it is now with all the movies and everything. Yeah. So, like, we'll dive into more stories about my stuff, which I'll make notations on it right here. But as soon as I became a sophomore in high school, that's when I started breaking out of my shell and not giving a fuck, because I started working with the bands. And that helped build my confidence. Like, tremendously. I was shy and timid, like, up until I was a freshman.
Okay. So for me, I think as far as the groups in high school, because I went to 3 schools in 8th grade. Like I said, when I moved, I was always the new person, so I was able to get, okay, when I go to this new environment, Michelle, what are you going to do? Are you going to join the club? Are you going to isolate? I always tried, but I always ended up hiding in the library, not to read books, just to hide, or just hiding off in the field. And I find myself doing that to this day. When I decided to reinvent myself again, and what I've been doing for the last few years, I had to figure out, how do I get this shit out? Because no one wanted to hear my story. I didn't get the proper counseling. My counselors always were fixated on my childhood, like, well, when did you, like, when did these things happen? And I'm like, were you molested? I'm like, I don't know, probably a few times, My molestation wasn't insertions. It was more touching and
fondling
and breathing and just the talking and so I have a real problem with someone coming up with me and whispering. I don't like that. It triggers me. I could headbutt you. I'll fight you, and the poor person doesn't know, different things that trigger people. And so when the sexual revolution and all the different things, we'll talk about those at another time. But as far as when I morph into things, I did this thing called Real People Helping Real People. And this was a real revolution for me. So this was probably around 2009, 10, 11, and 12. I made about 1,100 videos online. It's online right now, and 4 women got to watch them and be a part of it. And I was able to tell my entire story. Kevin and I were going through the growing pains of a relationship at that time, and I was pretty passive with him, and up until a certain point, and then I flipped the switch and said, fuck it, I'm not going to be passive with this person anymore. So he had to go through an adjustment period of having a different person, like, oh shit, she's like, snap back at me, versus whatever you want, babe, and when you set somebody up for like, and never like raise your voice, and all of a sudden you just like unleash the tyrant on them, and they're like, scream. Holy shit, Put
it away, your goddamn self.
Yeah, and he's like, okay.
Cook your own damn hot dogs. Like, okay, don't kill me. Yes.
Right. And so once
I think I'll just go to eat out.
So these women helped me, and of course, a couple of them I had to like kick out of the group, because I'm telling my stuff, and I'm like a Kardashian, but a ghetto version, as far as like, I will tell you all my shit. I want it on film. I want you to know everything. My problem is that not everyone hears my stuff with an empathy type of tone, or even keeps it to themselves. They really use my my hardships for their benefit, and I made.
They prey on it.
They prey on it for sure. I was definitely a. Victims, I'm more of a volunteer. Victims are like, I don't like the victim label, but I was definitely a volunteer for any kind of sickness along, and I just gravitated toward that. So I've learned to.
Okay, but real quick, it is not to deter or take away from people that are victims, though.
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Because you're a victim one time. Okay, I'm sorry, you're a victim one time and maybe 2 times, but after that. You're volunteering.
Only in the extreme circumstances where it's not volunteering. I mean, there are a few extreme that we'll get into later. That
as far as, yes, absolutely. When if you have, when you're younger,
we don't need to like give it. Yeah, we don't need to go into defending it. But there are a few extreme circumstances where, if it happens repeatedly, whatever.
Yeah.
But, on some of the smaller stuff, it's like, well, I mean, you kind of went back there. It's like,
Right. And so I kept doing that. So like, why are you doing that? Well, because you know what? I actually was probably the dopamine attraction to, I always want to change somebody, but I always thought, it's going to be different, and Kevin and I have had some bantering over the years, and we're like, we're still trying to work it out. We were two broken people that came together at a certain level in our life, and we weren't completely lost and broken when we found each other. We actually both were trying to get our shit together equally, separately. But then just when you take two people and just boom, and so as we journeyed on and I got more of a footprint online, I was trying to erase the bad footprint because that person that I decided to be my stalker, he has a lot of footage of me, and it's probably out there, and it's like, it's okay. I just have to let it go. I'm not going to run for politics, I'm not going to be a political person where my story is going to be,
It's okay. Hang on, I'm going to make a notation on this too, because, I mean, I don't know how I want to word this, but like, I mean, whatever you did in the privacy of your own room, it doesn't matter. Like if you watch The Most Hated Man on the internet, that documentary on Netflix, that pertains to a lot of what you're talking about right now. Like you love the person, you're like, you want to make this like Pam and Tommy. Hello, they made their thing just for them. And that got out there.
Some of the stuff that wasn't sexual, some of the stuff was, I was during a time where I was being recorded just talking about my madness. And so it's like, I don't know, it's just like, but it's an intimate kind of thing. And
and if it's your, like, how you're feeling or whatever, no one should fault you on how you're feeling at that moment and everything you're going through, everything you've been through, the traumatic, just the trauma that you've experienced, and you're sitting down, and in this moment someone asks you, intimate questions, and you're answering honestly, and at your moment that's your true honest answer from your heart, that you feel that, and then they want to turn it around and use it against you, like, fuck them.
I know, I hate that. And so, and that happened over and over, and I see that in people. And today what I do is, like, kind of moving forward, is I have a group of people that didn't want me to tell my story, and I had this idea of having a video, like a virtual book, and where you could just like tap on it, and like one of my little stories would pop up, and there would be relative, and who knows, maybe I can do that someday.
This is what you're doing right now. There's the camera, we got the mics, we got this is the podcast that we're doing can be your virtual book. Like, each episode can be a chapter about your life and about the stuff you went through and the stuff you want to get out there and talk about. That's the whole point of a podcast. Especially this one that you're hosting, because it's your show. You talk about whatever you want. If they don't like it, fuck off. And, it doesn't matter, because even if certain people listen to it.
Were you always like this, though, Corey, where you had... I have the fuck off attitude with a lot of topics, but when it comes to me, like, I could say that to you. I could wrap my arms around you and say, I will fucking fight somebody for you, Corey, But, like, have you always had that brave where you're like, fuck it? When did you get that where you're like, I'm just going to do me no matter what? You know what I mean? I'm not going to let you be the person dictating my decisions.
I think for me, it's been a long development.
Okay.
But hell, even up to the last 2 years for when I lost my mom. I lost my grandfather. And
we want to talk about that in a whole other episode. I want to talk about grief and all that stuff. That's another chapter. Definitely another chapter. But that's kind of how it's been a little bit more in the last few years.
In the last few years, even more, because life's so fucking short. And like I said, there's the things you deserve in life, like the things you need in life. You need to, food, water, air, to be heard. You need to be loved. We all need to fuck. Anyways, with that whole part of being loved and heard, like, I want to express myself in, like, however I feel. And that's where I think, a lot of people these days, when they express their depression, and everyone's like, oh, you're just looking for attention. Well, don't act like, this is where the stigma is that when we talk about. I want to get rid of this stigma. Don't act like because they're looking for attention that whatever they're expressing isn't valid. It is valid. Maybe you should ask the question, why are they going to this full extent to try to get this attention? Like, why are they slitting their wrists the wrong way, not to kill themselves, but to get this attention? What is wrong in their life? What trauma happened that they're going to this full length to fucking get your attention and pay attention? That's where the stigma needs to change. Not, oh, you're just trying to get attention. Okay, well, why are you trying to get attention? What's going on in your life? What happened to you? Where did this trauma happen? And let's go from there.
It's true. There's something currently going on where in my family, if it's a really hard topic, right now my sisters and I are not getting along. My older sister and I, it doesn't matter what the topic is, it's either me and my little sister fighting or my older, or all of us. We're always having some little trauma going on, or not trauma, problem. And my mom will say, we're not going to talk about that right now. We're just going to, and then she'll send a group text and send a little flower, and then we just all forget about it and we move on. But we've done this my whole life. And now I don't want to do this move on thing anymore. I want to talk about it. And no one lets me talk. And so I'm the one, like, my
Here's
Instagram's off the hook. I know doing it. And so that's why I post silly memes. If I can't, I'm cryptic. If I can't tell you my truth, because you can't handle it, then I guess I have to put a meme up. So they're like, why do you post all these things? Because you won't, I have to tell you're going to find out.
It's your page. It's right. Your expression. Like I said, I went off on a rant because I've been dealing with T-Mobile and Apple. Okay, two companies. I don't even care if they come at us with $1 billion. I'm gonna say blank off. I don't want your sponsorship. All right.
AT&T is.
And like I'm Apple and T-Mobile. I'm just like done. Okay. Anyways, I even said in my rant, like I took it down because I've been posting it because I want to get it out there, but then I'll take it down because I'm just like, okay, I had my little rant. Yeah. I'm done. I don't need it up there. I want to promote Shellrzzr and do everything else I've got going on, more positive stuff, but. Like, it's my page. If I want to go on a rant about it, fuck you. I want to do it because it's my page. And if anyone else doesn't feel like, oh, you're just, like, going on a rant, and it's like, okay, don't read my page.
Okay, was your mom ever, when she was alive, was she ever, was she a social media girl? Like, if you posted something crazy, would she call you and go, Corey, really? Because my mom will.
No, she'd call and say, okay, what's going on? Okay. Like, because some of the stuff would obviously be vague booking. Right. Like, right. And she's like, what's going on? She'd ask what's up. And, sometimes, trust me, there's a few things that happen online, that she's like, you probably shouldn't have done that. And it's just like, but in the heat of the moment, she gets it. She understands I'm frustrated. Like, okay, for the record too, because this just recently came up. I want to express this story really bad because this recently came up in a conversation I had with a friend of mine. That I'm gonna also say this right now. You know what? I'm going through a lot of stuff mentally and emotionally, and telling some of this stuff and these stories and everything that I go through. If I start crying or tearing up, fuck you. I don't give a fuck. Call me a pussy, whatever, because there's a lot of stuff I'm going through. So I just deal with it. But my mom, this story came up with a friend of mine talking about how, about arguing with somebody, right? And that you can love someone so much. Like my mom did this for me, that we got into an argument and it had nothing to really do with her, but like she kind of asked the question, what's going on and everything, and I just started going off, and then she and I got into an argument, and then we started just like going off on each other, back and forth. But then you know what she did? She stopped. And you know what she said? She said, I get you're upset, I get you have a lot going on right now and you need a vent, and if you need to go off on somebody, you can go off on me. It's okay. Yeah. I love you.
That's a good mommy.
No matter what, I know you're just upset and you're going through whatever you're going through right now. And when you're ready to talk about it, I'll be here. But right now, if you need to keep yelling at me, do it.
Yeah, that's a good mom to do that, Corey. And I'm glad that you shared that because there's a lot of emotions. I'll tell you right now, I'm not doing well right now. And it's interesting how when we're like, okay, we're going to do this mental journey topic and we're going to ongoing do this. And we're like, okay, let's do this Friday. I had the worst day today. I started off with some drama in my own little personal life, and then it was just dumb stuff all day long. You know, like I'm barefooted and I step on some of these. We have these chicken. We have this bird we call Chicken. Okay, and she has these pebbles, and they're all over the house. And it was just like one little thing at another, to where I get a cup of water and it spills, and then the pencil things, and I get logged out of my sight. And I was making mashed potatoes tonight, and then the blender wouldn't work, and then my mashed potato, I have a smasher. It's broken in half, so I have a half of a smasher, and it's a big thing. And I'm sweating, and the guys are in here trying to get ready, and Corey's doing his thing, and Kevin's doing like 1,000 jobs to get us ready, and I'm literally having a fucking breakdown in the kitchen, and no one cares. And I had to come in here and tell them, I'm going to have lumpy potatoes, and this food is going to taste like shit, and I don't want to hear it.
It tasted good.
You know, and I'm like, why? What is my deal? And so
And for the record, it's not that we didn't care. She didn't express that far into it with us. So I would have cared and actually gone out there and like, okay, let's figure out making this masher thing work, or just throw it in the blender.
Yeah, right. And it's not a big deal, but I go through life a lot of the times and I do self-talk, and I'll say something like, struggle much? And that's might be a big snorky, like if I see you messing up and I care about you, but I might say you struggle, but I might be snotty about it, like, are you struggling? Struggle much?
Like a meme, real life meme or something?
Yeah, because I do. I have to tell myself all day long, Michelle, you can empty the dishwasher and load it, and you do your job, and you're going to be able to take a shower. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, I shower every day, but I won't wash my hair for like,
a week.
Like I'm like a hippie, like it's dreading out.
It's like major
trauma. Do
trauma.
you at least get it wet in the shower? Like rinse it off?
No, I shower twice a day, and my body's always clean. But like washing hair's trauma for me. It's this is like day 2, so I'm okay right now. It's still fresh. And I know it seems silly, but it's like it's a lot. I have dental insurance, and I haven't been to the dentist since pandemic happened 2020. So we're going on. Why? Because it's hard, and it's like, if anyone struggles with self-care, I'll tell you, Corey, I'll say, you know what, I have extra money, and if you need to go to the dentist, I'm going to make sure you get it paid for, and I'll make your appointment, and do you need a ride? But I don't do that for myself, and no pun on my husband or anybody else, but I don't have anybody that's tending to my, make sure you do that, and I had to tell myself, you have to care enough about you, Michelle. You have to be the person that can carry yourself through. So I'm throwing it out there. So maybe on the next podcast I'll make a dentist appointment, but it's like, it's just, I have insurance.
We'll do it during a weekday so she can call live while we're doing it.
Oh my God, that would be great.
By the way, do we have permission to use your voice, Samantha, on the radio? Oh yeah? Okay, cool.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. We should do a field trip somewhere like that. So, I know you guys.
Let's all go to the dentist.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. What was our engineer saying? He was like throwing me off there.
I think we're like in an hour recording. Yeah,
well,
but
we're over an hour.
What were you saying then? Just say it.
Hour and 7 minutes.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's fine.
So let me see what's left on my on my touch. Okay, I
mean, a lot of this stuff we kind of trailed off, and we always get derailed a little bit. Or
one of the things I want to say is, do you need help? Okay, Corey and I are probably, and Kevin as well, but us two here right now, we're here for you. I'll speak for me. I'm here for you, a day or night. I'm like red button. If you tell me that, hey, Michelle, when you see me in a club, if I'm like standing off in the corner isolating, just come say hi to me, because I have social anxiety. And I am the same way, as outgoing as I am, and is how I am, kind of crazy and wild in the scene. And I'm the behind the scenes typing on 4 different blogs at all times doing stuff. You see me in person, and I have this like resting bitch face or whatever. I'm like, it's not you. It's like, I hate that. It's not you. It's me. It's just like, I don't know what it is. As soon as I get to the event, I'm done. I want to leave, and I'm like, shit, I got 5 more hours here.
Oh, we just started? Fuck.
And
it's because, we're seasoned, okay? Been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And them a lot longer than me. Well, actually, I don't know. I think we're pretty close.
No, we're at the same level.
But, it's just, we get there and it's like, oh, yeah, it's the same old shit as fucking 10 years ago. It's just a different band name or different whatever's going on. Some different artist or comedian or something. It's like, I don't want to be here. I've already heard it. I've seen it.
Yeah, or I just get all like, okay, or I just want everything to be a certain way, and I want people to match my energy. And if you're not matching my energy, I either will take it up a notch or I just dismiss you. It's not fair. You don't even know the rules. I have rules for everybody, and I do not give you a playlist. You need to figure it out.
Well, no, I think we should print out like the rules list, just like, you know, a little index card, and just start handing them out to people as you walk in the room. I think that'd be an awesome thing to do for the show.
That would be great. Well, years ago, I used to say I have breadcrumbs, and if you really cared about me, and Kevlar can attest to this, I was the type of person, if I met you online and we just had this relationship online, I want you to, I want you to write me a poem or something, or I want you to, like, follow my little feelings of breadcrumbs. Well, I told you last week I had this little emotion. You should have put a note in there and, like, put a pin in it and got back to me. And if you didn't do all that, I would dismiss you. Kevin's like, it's too much work.
Yeah, it was, and I wasn't about to chase some woman, so.
Well, he mentioned it. He ended up chasing anyways, but but not that way. And so
no, it was delivered.
It was
so
that's
whatever.
True. that is true. That's another story too.
He DoorDashed
with a 12-pack of beer and a bag of weed.
The thing is,
Uber Eats it. Okay.
That before they had that, right? I was that girl. It was a crappy 12-pack. I didn't even like the beer.
Steel Reserve.
Yeah. What was it?
It was light beer from Miller.
Yeah, it was Miller Lite.
Miller Lite.
I don't know why she thought I liked light beer from Miller because I'm a craft beer guy, but
I think he had like one beer somewhere where he had that. So
I think that was my roommate who drank that.
But back to people and reaching out. We all come from a different place, and I think that it's important to, like road rage, and you're on the road and you're doing crazy things, or if you see somebody, just take the time. And just say, hey, how are you? I do it at the grocery store. Susan at the store checking us out today, she was kind of annoying me a little bit, but I still took the time to say, how's your day going? And she was like, thanks for asking, and I'm a customer service person.
The littlest bit of compassion.
Yeah, little eye contact.
Or just like a little interaction. Just, hey, what's up?
Until she terrorized some lady's dog with a shopping cart.
Oh my gosh. I'm at Walmart tonight.
You did?
No.
Or the check start?
She didn't, but she was accused of it.
So I'm at the by the lettuce or something today, and I'm just sitting there by myself with the cart not moving. This lady walks in with her dog that I guess I missed the interaction. I guess the dog lunged or something. I didn't see it. And she stops me and says, you upset my dog, or what is it? You scared my dog. And I'm like, I'm just standing here, lady. Like,
I didn't even move.
I didn't even move. Like,
maybe you trained your damn dog and weren't a shitty owner.
So she
what the hell is your dog doing in the supermarket?
I guess it was her, so she picked it up and mean mugged me and walked away. And I'm thinking, you have your own shopping cart, but that's just, maybe she's stressed out. She needed somebody. I was the one. She felt better. She felt powerful to say, you did this. And I didn't react.
And that's one thing I do also want to put out there too, is that we all have our own issues, and at the moment, to us, like each as an individual, everybody, our issues are like at 110%, like the worst, biggest thing we're going through at that moment. And as trivial as it might seem to the next person over to you, it's not trivial to you. And that's where I don't want to take away people's, when they get upset or like frustrated or angry or whatever's going on in their life, to them, that for whatever reason is the most important thing to them, and that's not going right, and they're in a bad mood. And that's where it's like, people also need to ask too, on the stigma on that, what else is going on in their life that their life is so shitty they have to be that shitty towards somebody else.
It's true. And I used to think, if you have money, then what's your problem? You can't be depressed. I would literally go, you have everything. What I get sad about, security, money, all these things, you have all those stuff. So how could you be unhappy?
Maybe they're not loved.
They're not. They have other things. I'm just looking at the surface, No, and so I have to give, and we have to do that. I think that it's important that we have a opportunity to, I think, help people. And I think I have helped people. I took the class. I'm certified. I'm a mental health helper, with my job. Not that they've ever utilized me, but I work for the state and they send you to all these classes, and I got the certificate. I'm a mental health worker.
Well, we should have that up on the wall.
I have it in a binder. Should I get it?
Not right this second, but like at least have it for up on show. Like, you know, see, we are like Dr.
certified.
Phil. She's certified. Okay, I'm just operating off of her license, her certification. Okay, I'm her apprentice.
You know what
I'm Nurse C Corps.
You know what? But the funny thing about that is that we did this role playing. It was part of the little class where it was like they read a scenario.
Role-playing, huh?
Yeah, and they said pretend like you're, somebody that's upset and you're at work, but you don't know how to say it, and you're just sitting there all upset. And I was supposed to be like this worker walking by, all like, "Oh, hi, Corey, how are you doing?" "Oh, fine." And then you're supposed to like give them attention and stuff. But this, it's workplace safety. It happens, but I think that happens in life. We'll be, just because we're at a club and stuff. People sometimes show up to clubs and they're like dying, and like the karaoke nights and all the different places, it's like, I don't know. If you want to reach out to us, we can't always buy you a beer, but you go buy us a beer and I'll sit and talk to you.
Tell you what, no. You show up, you want us to hear about your problems, you buy us a beer, you have until the beer's done, or you get us another beer, but we'll keep listening.
It's way cheaper than a psychiatrist.
Yes,
so.
yes. Give me 2 Coronas, I'll hear your whole story.
And also, you can, on a serious note, you could write us too. I'd love to have
Do
an
we have an
opportunity.
email yet?
Don't we?
I don't know. You're the one that was in charge of that, not me. You can hit us up on the Facebook page,
Yeah,
Distorted
just do
Reality Podcast on Facebook.com/whatever the
Yeah.
thing is. But we'll get an email set up, Distorted Reality.
Do we have can we get like a .com telephone number? Because eventually we're gonna have, maybe we can have a
We
caller
have
in.
a Proton email.
Okay, great.
That's up on the site.
It's on, what do you know what it is?
I believe it's drpc at protonmail.com.
Oh, that's right. Distorted Reality Podcast. I'm so sorry. Get it?
Okay,
I
go
don't
there
like to
or just
have
write
to
us on.
spell that out every time, so
And-
it's
and-
easier to just do the DRPC.
We promise you, if you tell us you don't want it to be on the show, we won't even mention it or even, whatever. If you say you're okay with having the story on the show, then we'll, keep your name out of it if you want, or we'll just have you, call in and be on the show, whatever. Like, we don't mind talking to you. We want to talk to you.
We do.
Kinda. I don't know. I mean,
But I think we do, though. We want
listeners are
to
kinda
like-minded.
idiots, so I kind of don't, been doing this for a while. Some of them are kind of Just saying. Change our minds, though.
Listen, make your trauma interesting. Don't bore me like I did at the beginning of my story here. I mean, some people used to say lead with the meat, right? So lead with the,
The meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Get to the point.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have to give you this.
He's been waiting all night to do that.
He's been wanting to push that soundbite board. And he's just like, when's the time to do it?
So we're going to come back in a little while, maybe in podcast 4 or 5. What are we on, 4 or 5? Maybe podcast 10, 11. We don't know when we'll talk about mental health again.
Oh,
Maybe
no, I see. I mean,
we could talk about mental health.
I mean,
on and
obviously,
off.
we've already talked about it for an hour and a half. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. What are we at?
Hour and 17 minutes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
almost. Good enough. Close enough. Whatever.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up, but we'll do it in a series, and I don't know how we're organizing it yet, because you know what? That's what I love about Corey is that he keeps me free that way, because I want to have this little structured, remember that box, I want to keep myself in a box, and I just want to just tell me when I'm like, hey, you know what, we're just going to talk about whatever we want, whenever we want. We kind of have an idea. We knew today we weren't going to be silly. We were going to try to hit some hard stuff.
I don't know. I try to be a little silly.
But I mean,
I gotta entertain.
Yeah, we got to entertain, but
I gotta do my job, my job.
Yep. So.
But, okay, is there anything else on your notepad that you want to say before you, be like, I should have said something,
No.
or your teleprompter?
No, I want to continue. I'll actually listen to this podcast and take some notes, and we'll throw up some ad libs. But we'll continue it. There's so many things I could tell you about stories. But the last thing is that today I wasn't doing well, and my first thought is to quit still, and then my next thought
What
is,
are you quitting this show?
Oh no, I was going to quit the show.
Oh, okay.
No.
Woo.
Just
I have a heart attack. I'm like,
No,
whoa.
no,
There's other shows around here where people are getting fired, and then you're about to quit. I'm like, what the hell?
no, I just want to quit. Like, I can't do this. And then that's always my first thought. I'm hoping someday when I have my anxiety, my first thought will be, it's okay. It's still, and then I go, it's okay. And so I just wanted to let you know that I have all kinds of tips and tricks for notepads, and I'll list that in the future. You know,
All I have
how
to
my coping
say
skills.
Is Goonies never say die. All right? That's all I got to say.
And there you have it.
And we never give up. All right?
Okay. Well, there you have it. It's Distorted Reality Podcast. We got Shellrzzr here. We got C-Core.
Hi.
And we got cameraman Kevlar.
He's off to the side. We'll see about getting him a little camera for himself too, and then you can see what he's doing with up on all the screens that he has going.
Oh, that would be awesome. So you could see some of that stuff in the future. So I hope you guys call us in the future. I hope you write us. I hope you listen to this, and if not, fuck off, right?
Yeah, there you go. Or, because the show will be better if we don't have less listener interaction. Just saying.
I always say that you're only truly free when you don't give a shit what anyone thinks about you.
All right.
Oh, okay. Or just shit in the woods on the street. I mean, you guys are from San Francisco. I mean, you can just shit in the street. Don't matter anymore.
Nowadays,
It wasn't like that when I was growing up, but it sure is
don't get it
now.
started.
All right, so that's going to be it for this week.
Yeah.
We'll be back. Give us another week or so. We'll be back again. Sadly, I don't know why, but I'm having more fun doing this than my other show right now.
But
Anyways.
hey, but you know what? We're thinking that we were talking about that, though. We might have maybe we'll have some other people come up and visit, or just we'll just do this. We'll see. What happens.
Yeah, anyways.
We do both.
Well, there's a lot going on. Stay tuned. Thanks
Bye.
for coming.
Distorted Reality Podcast would like to thank Shellrzzr Clothing.